Hello and welcome to another instalment of History Hack, because you just absolutely 100% cannot get enough of these Sharpe attacks that we've been doing. Jason has been beavering away once again behind the scenes. Jason, how are you doing?
I'm very well, and again, I'm
very
really happy.
Very convincing method version of a beaver there.
It means something different in America. Anyway, so I'm really happy to be together with all of my Sharpe alumni, and I think it's going to be a great almost couple of hours.
Absolutely. And what is the theme today? What have you gone with today?
Well, I feel that we had, after the first series of Sharpe, they really had to come with a great second series. And I feel that these guys, along with Alice, are the heroes of the second series. The heroes of the second series. And there's Lyndon. And hopefully Nickolas Grace will be joining us. Sorry, Sharpe fans, that Alice's schedule, her shooting schedule, has left her unavailable for this morning's recording, but she will be back in the future.
She will, because we are going to do one on Sharpe's Company, aren't we? We're going to do a special show on Sharpe's Company at some point. Yes,
she wasn't in Sharpe's Company, but I thought she would fit in somewhere along the line.
Yeah.
Because she's quite an important character in the books as well as in the movies.
Perfect. So we're going to do Enemy and Honour today, yes. And we have got an amazing lineup. First of all, two of the Chosen Men are with us again. Michael Mears, hello.
Hi, how are you?
How are you doing? Good. How are you coping with 2020? It's been a while since we spoke.
Yeah, it's trundling on, although it seems like we're going to possibly be going back into lockdown again. Who knows in the near future?
It's just never going to end, is it? And Lyndon's here and he doesn't remember anything. Lyndon.
How you doing? You alright?
Yeah, not bad. Finally conquered Zoom to get in on this chat. And we have some new faces for our reunions as well today. We have the amazing Philip Whitchurch, of course, Fredrickson. Everyone has been done. There's so many questions, most of them revolving around the horrific makeup job. But we can't wait to hear
what makeup job?
How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Brilliant. We have Nick Rowe with us, Captain Gillian.
Hello.
Brilliant. He's also George Washington and many, many other things, including Sherlock Holmes. I'm really excited to have him here. We have the amazing Nick Grace is supposed to be, he'll be dropping in at some point, won't he, Jason? He's having
he will be, yeah.
Issues. But we also have, this is so exciting for me because he's like in everything I ever watched. Feodor Atkine, Duco, welcome.
Yay! Hello.
He's smugly lying down somewhere in Brittany right now, having an awesome time.
Exactly. I'm delighted to be with you. Thank you very much. How are you, Alex?
Very well, thank you. As you said, Jason, Alice will join us at some point. And of course, Natasha is lurking in the background as well. One day I'm going to get her onto the podcast, but she's...
We will. I thought we could round out a lot of the Crimean and Russian crew, because I'm in touch with a few of them now. So
that would be
possible.
That will. But so Mrs. Jason is there and we will. She's getting braver every time she comes and says...
I'm getting my courage.
You did that without moving your lips, Jason.
I would like to kick off by saying the enemy and honor are two of the more faithful to the books episodes that we have had, and because I re-looked at the episodes and had a skim through the books. So it's interesting because on Sharpe 3, the next year, Gold, Battle Sword, they went completely off-piste and shattered all the structure of the book, which is interesting. So that's why these episodes are so good, I guess, because they're so
definitely. I imagine if we did a Sharpe's Gold episode, it would just be everybody bitching for 2 hours.
Well, we're going to have a Sharpe's Gold episode. I've got a few of the cast members lined up. We got a lot of people, so it should be interesting.
Nick, I have to ask you. So we got a question in for you from David Nye, who asked, were you familiar with Sharpe or the Napoleonic Wars before taking the role? And then there are loads of questions from him and Robbie Coots as well about rockets and how much training you got on rockets, or did they just let you straight at them?
God, my answer is going to be so disappointing, David, and the others. I think I had just not long since left drama school and was happy to do any television job that came along. And this was, of course, very exciting because it was a chance to travel. I didn't do very much research. No, I was told that actually I'd be fine when I got there, that I was in good hands and that I would be thrown straight in. Once I got the costume on, I'd know exactly what to do. And as far as I know, I don't think I did have much time. I think it was a fairly last minute thing. So I pretty much heard I got the job, then got on a plane.
Probably the sexiest job ever, just out of drama school. Do you want to go and play with rockets on Sharpe?
Pretty nice. I mean, yes, very nice. Especially, I mean, the idea of going to Ukraine via Moscow was kind of great. And of course, I knew nothing of the difficulties that some people faced when they were there.
Well,
and in a way,
it fit really well because the rocket troop were underused and not trusted and sort of green, if you will. So it's perfect that the lieutenant in charge of them should be green and nervous and on their first job, sort of thing.
Yes, I think they looked at me and thought, this man knows nothing about sort of rockets in 1808 or whenever it was. And it was it 1808 or 1809?
1809, yep.
Let's be exact, 1809. And I knew about rockets in 1808. It was the 1809 ones I wasn't so familiar with. So yes, David, in answer to your question, I was fairly new to it. I knew a bit about the Peninsular War, yes, but I knew nothing about the rockets and the part they played, and nor did I know Bernard Cornwell's books. So I quickly read a couple. So that was my research.
Philip and Feodor, how into the books were you beforehand? Did you have any awareness of them at all?
Me? Yeah. I read a lot of the books only because I'm just interested in that period historically. Didn't really know the detail, but yeah, I mean, the whole bit of the Peninsular War that always fascinated me, but the actual minutiae of soldiering, really, I wasn't that familiar with. But like Nick says, you get the frock on, you get the uniform on, and that kind of does half the job for you.
I think with the amount of stuff, paraphernalia you had to don as well, it would be pretty hard not to be in character by the time they'd finish with you.
Yeah, it was funny eye, funny teeth, funny wig. Comedy wig, comedy eye. I've still got the teeth upstairs in the bathroom in my old makeup box.
Wow. Oh, that's excellent, because Michael Kirby asked, did you keep the hair and teeth, and do you get them out on special occasions?
Well, I didn't keep the wig. Who would want to keep the wig? But I kept the teeth, and I also I had a blank in my eye. Unfortunately, I could never put it in anyway, so part of the expression, the makeup girls always put it in for me. So that was, I don't know where that went. But the teeth, yeah, when the kids were small, I occasionally put my teeth in to scare the shit out of them,
Peter Carter wanted to know, how challenging was it working under all of that crap, especially the false teeth covered in drool?
Yeah, I had to. Part of the way the teeth fitted in the mouth really I had to make decisions about how to speak, because that affected the way I spoke, and also the wig I was never enamored of, really, and I tried to lose it as much as I could, because it sat on the head and it wasn't fixed, obviously, and I tried to lose it as much as possible. And the eye was always, we always tried to fit it in the makeup truck. Trying to do it out on the field was always difficult because there was so much dust flying around that if you got some grip behind the lens, it was really painful. So I tried to have it in as much as possible.
I wanted to ask you if you ever longingly looked at someone having an easier time of it. And actually, someone called Kenny Bonnet came and asked if you could have had an easier role, if you could have played any other role in Sharpe, what would it have been?
Sharpe.
Yes, it's a bit of a dumb question, isn't it, when you think about it?
We all want to play Sharpe. No, I don't think so. I love the part of Fredrickson. He was such an interesting character because, he was German, but the British Army then wasn't just, it wasn't just English. It was French, it was Belgium, it was Germans. It was a whole mishmash of people. And I loved the idea of that. There was this kind of, European community all in the British Army. That's the way.
Yeah.
And in the books, Fredrickson is so important, almost like as good a buddy as Harper is. And, so you are definitely an important character, which is a shame they didn't do that, exploit it more in the episodes. You should have been in more, as Ducos should have been in way more episodes, because he's in almost every single book.
But unfortunately, Ducos died, he fell out of his horse, and a stupid English soldier came and killed him.
Well, actually, no, in Sharpe's honor, a French soldier kills you.
No,
but
you sure?
You don't actually die. Yeah.
I didn't want a French to kill me. I'm sorry. I didn't want that.
What about a Belgian?
Probably, yeah. It was an alien, foreigner.
Excellent.
Theodore, Robbie wants to know, how did you play such an evil bugger so brilliantly? What helped you get into character?
Because it's the way I am. No. Of course, I think in all my career, and I doubt the others are going to say different things about that, but playing a villain is probably the best pleasure you can have. But the villain parts are the most they're deep. I mean, they're full of possibilities. It's not only one character who's good or bad. You can drive your character from a point to another, being almost making the audience believe that you can turn or change, or it's really something impressive, and I loved it, of course. And I was there for a few years with all these guys and girls, and I've got plenty of souvenirs and memories of that time that always struck me when I think about Sharpe. Not only being there as an actor, but also there was a very, very intense political and period, and social period at that time in Crimea or in Turkey. That we've been through so intense emotions, not only because what we were doing was very deep and profound and interesting, thanks to John Clegg and many others, of course. But also looking at what was happening all around was something that made me grow up a bit and understand that things are going to be worse, like now.
Brilliant. And I have to ask, Lyndon.
Oh God.
Surely you must remember Elizabeth Hurley.
Oh, yes.
A vague recollection, yeah.
Oh, yes.
A vague recollection.
Oh, yes.
I remember her.
Yeah.
I
remember in Simferopol, walking down the main street in Simferopol in a pair of pajamas.
Yes.
And there was all the kind of Ukrainian guys on the street as she walked past, like literally walking into lampposts. As they turned round to catch the
I might tell this. I think Jason, we were talking about this at some point, but Lyndon, you'll remember this. Hello, Lyndon. Nice to see you.
Hello, buddy. How you doing?
Very good. And we were sitting in the canteen in Yalta, in the sanatorium, and we were waiting for the arrival of the two next women to come. It was Helena Michelle and Liz. And The two of them appeared in the door. We were sitting around a table, all of us.
And
There
the
they
pajamas,
are.
Phil.
So we're now looking at the picture of them and Jason with them. They're doing very well. Well done. Two lovely ladies. And so we were sitting around a table and we were talking away and like everything stopped. Time seemed to stop while everybody's heads sort of whipped around and looked at these two beautiful women coming in the room. And, you know, for me it was different. Obviously I've been in London a little bit, but you've been away for months. and Liz came up to the table and suddenly there was a flurry of activity and everybody stood up and sort of went, oh, hello. And she said, and then she turned to me and she said, oh, I know you. I've snogged you. And I couldn't remember. It was bizarre. I couldn't remember. And everyone looked at me as if I was some sort of god and then kind of went, how the hell did you manage that? Look at you. You snogged Liz Hurley. And actually, it was just because we'd done a screen test a few years before where I'd had to kiss her. And that was it. So suddenly, for a little while, for about 5 seconds, I had everybody's respect.
Until they realised that you've forgotten about it.
Yeah, clearly I don't think about it every day.
Michael, what are your memories of Enemy?
Yeah, Liz Hurley, basically.
I remember my first day on set was your first day on set, if you remember. We were on that plateau in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And we had those rockets set up.
Yes.
And I always remember down in like a little gully, there was an archaeological dig going on. Which has nothing to do with the
the shoot.
Yeah, it's nothing to do with that. But it was just an amazing day for me, I remember. Not just because I met you, but
that would have made a difference.
But because it was like being on another planet.
Yeah. It was really like being on another planet. That landscape was extraordinary, wasn't it?
Extraordinary, yeah. And
we were so great. You know, you guys all kind of knew it. You'd been, but for us, it was amazing, wasn't it? I remember at lunchtime seeing all the Ukrainian army boys sort of trying to find some shade and smoking cigarettes quite a lot because basically that seemed to be their lunch. You know, it wasn't. I think basically there was they were paid in cigarettes, were they? To a certain
extent. Paid $1 a day and all the buckwheat they can eat.
That's right.
Yeah.
I remember them taking their boots off and they didn't have socks.
Oh, crikey.
They had rags wrapped around their feet.
They worked so hard, those guys, didn't they?
They really did.
But do you remember the Russian soldiers that were coming from Baku and going back to their home in Russia, and they were crossing with us in Yalta, and they sold everything they had. I mean, the uniforms, the weapons, and everything. And some of them had jars of caviar. You remember the caviar?
The jam jars.
Tell us.
Yes.
The jars, like 1
kilo
2
jar.
ounce, 2 pounds of caviar for
kilo
20,
jars.
For 20 jam jars, jam jars. Okay, that we passed at the border because it was absolutely forbidden to take caviar, the blue cans, the blue cans, and but we passed with the jars because they didn't know what was inside, and we paid that. I don't know. I remember like 15.
Yeah, $20 a jar because it was.
Yeah, $20 a jar, exactly.
It was poached caviar. That was illegal. They'd had a sturgeon. They nicked it illegally and was selling it to us. $20 a jar. That was like a 1,000 quid's worth almost.
Yeah, sure.
We ate it like beans on toast.
Yes, in fact,
board it out with a slice of bread, just like look at me with my beans on toast, and it's just caviar.
So all of these previous stories about the hardships endured in the Crimea are rubbish. You were sitting there eating caviar on toast.
Sometimes.
Loading it up, really.
Did any of these soldiers get any training from like Rifleman Moore, or were they just released with black powder weapons on you all?
I can answer this one. Right. Rifleman Moore, as well as teaching all of us lot how to be a chosen man, he was an absolute god to the soldiers of Simferopol barracks. He lived with them, he trained them, he ate with them, he did everything with them, and they loved him for it. I mean, I know that, you know, a lot of people say, "Oh yeah, you're just like a soldier, Jason," and it's because of what Richard had taught us. You'll see a lot of it in my book. I talk about how he trained us, how he ambushed us in the classroom, how he did all sorts of stuff.
Are you writing a book, Jason?
Yes, I'm writing a book. Yes, it's called I Love Nick Rowe.
Oh, that's lovely. I'm going to write one.
No, it's called From Crimea with Love, and Nick Rowe's barely in it, really, so it's fine. But no, Richard Moore was absolutely loved by those guys. He learned how to give all the orders. Remember, Mickey? Shaggo March!
Yes.
Remember that, Shaggo March? He'd learned all he had them drilled and everything. So, yes, Richard Moore did train them to the hilt. And there's Nick Rowe's first day on set.
It's like my first day acting. Full stop. Look at me.
But it's so real, Nick. It's so real.
Yeah. Yeah. No acting required then.
I'm just looking straight past you to those awesome-looking rockets.
Yeah.
Of course, Nick Rowe is being modest because before Sharpe was young Sherlock, which is a mega iconic movie. So, fans out there, don't listen to Nick Rowe.
He was so famous, he forgot snogging Liz Hurley.
Yeah, quite. I've got a wonderful picture of Liz actually doing my cravat up.
Oh.
And the problem is there is nowhere for my eyes to go apart from down. Just because she was slightly shorter than me, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, look at Feodor's cat.
Yeah, it's a beautiful cat.
See, he's not a misogynist. He's just completely abandoned talking about Liz Hurley's chest for the cute.
I'm sorry. I don't look. To anybody to whom that was offensive, it was just.
No, you know what? It has been pointed out that lovely as she was on set, the girls always seem to be out and on view. As a woman, I can say that without being torn apart.
Thank you for supporting me there.
So, what is the story Henry Willis would like to know behind Fredrickson? He doesn't look like a proper officer. Was he promoted from the ranks, or was he the beneficiary of a rich aunt? Marcus, do you know this?
Well, I presume he is, with his name, German. 6 rifles were really different. There's recently been a book on them, Rogues with Rifles, so it's quite likely he was a professional soldier and had been in many different armies. In my assumption with Fredrickson, that he was a professional soldier, and the 60th was another unit he came into. The 60th were quite renowned for their kind of elite status.
So, Philip, playing Fredrickson, what did you assume his background was, or did you really not need it?
I knew he came. The 60th were like an elite company at a regiment, and my understanding. I mean, I can't remember. I read. I obviously dived into the books where Fredrickson was mentioned, and he just came across as somebody who was, as a soldier, he was more kind of, he was interested in art and philosophy and of the time, obviously. And so, he wasn't just your kind of bog standard soldier in that sense. And that's what I tried to play, really.
Yeah, I think you did it so well. It's like
I look back fondly, Phil, at the night we spent in Salifki, in front of the fort, when we're trying to con our way into the fort, and we're gabbering away, and you're speaking in Westphalian, I'm blabbing away in shitty French.
Yes.
And Dara's covered in Kensington gore.
We won't keep it warm. Remember, they lit that big fire outside the gates. And when we weren't filming, we were all sitting there wrapped in blankets trying to keep warm.
Got really cold those nights. And lots of olive trees and everything. It's a great landscape.
Beautiful.
Let me just wrap up on Fredrickson, Phil, because Josh Wilson-Jones wants to know, first of all, he says you are his favourite character, but he also says, are you still as devastated as I am that Sharpe poached Madame Lucille's heart from right under your nose? And what are you doing to recover from this heartbreak?
Yeah, well, I married my wife Sally on the rebound, obviously. No, it was, the fact that Fredrickson could even believe that he was in with a chance, I found weird, but I put that down to his, as I say, he was kind of, apart from being a learned man, and he was also assuming or hoping that she'd fall in love with his mind, because she wasn't going to fall in love with his teeth.
I don't know if this is an in-joke I don't get, but Alan Hunt wants to know from Nick Grace, when you got the job on Sharpe, did you down a few brandy Alexanders to celebrate?
That's very, very, as an in-joke, the answer is no. Okay. Brandy Alexanders, with a stutter from Brideshead, are not available in Russia.
So here's one for you. Bill Floyd has heard a rumour that the whole of filming for this series was mostly one take. Is that true?
Well, Jason will tell you that.
Well, definitely the Chosen Men, since they were not going to let them waste film on them, we had to be definitely one take. Right, Mickey? And Lyndon?
One take wonder.
One take wonders, we were called. But sometimes you couldn't do one take, like an action and stuff. But we were shooting on super 16mm film. So it wasn't video that you could quickly delete. So I think they had to be, everything had to be used.
Yeah, sometimes they'd rehearse us and think, we won't bother shooting that.
Yes, definitely. You kind of have to, because sometimes the lighting is wrong. But in general, definitely the Chosen Men were one take wonders, because they're like, that's okay, we're going to cut it anyway, so it doesn't matter. Yeah. But not every single scene.
The camera probably wasn't even rolling when they were filming. We just thought it was.
Precisely. Chosen Men, eh? I didn't choose you.
I've got to ask Nick, who I adore to bits, as he knows.
Which are you talking to that Nick?
No, I adore both Nicks, but Nick, you just turned up.
Okay.
Do you remember Fibergel?
Very, very well. I was going to bring that up too.
Oh, well, why don't you go ahead? Go ahead.
Well, I haven't taken my Fibergel today, so I'm not sure I can. What I'd love to know is that incredible game that you started, like Slam Pan. We used our hotel. Well, hotel, we'll talk about that later. You're probably talking about already the KGB building. We used our hotel room keys, didn't we, to put into the middle? And then what did we slam on top? What was the thing that banged the keys on the table? I've got to look over there. Sorry. Hello over there. Right.
I don't remember this.
I don't think you played, Jason. We had a Fibergel group.
Yeah. While you're all getting pissed in the bar, we had an intellectual Fibergel group.
We also developed our reflexes and our hand-eye coordination, which was very useful, of course, for the filming.
And it kept you regular, did it?
It kept us very regular. We played it regularly.
That was a good question, Nick, because why do we have all these Fibergel? That's because we're all so worried about having the shits every day. Well, we had all these packets of Fibergel.
That's what we slammed down, wasn't it, the Fibergel? I can't remember how the game was played.
Okay, roughly... like snap with the cards to get the right thing, and then we'd all have our keys on the table, which must have had a chain on or something. And then when the cards coincided, we go, and you have to get your keys out first. And whoever was left got all the Fibergel as their prize. It was absolutely superb.
Fibergel was the prize. Yes.
I remember not everyone was there, but there was one lovely evening. I think it was a Tuesday or Wednesday. And Feodor came back from Paris with a suitcase full of wine and cheese.
Oh, I remember that.
I remember that night.
Yeah,
it was this day.
In fact, to tell you the truth, it was not a suitcase. It was an enormous case that was, I don't know, like 12 different wines and and 30 cheese. And I remember Tom Clark. He had chosen the very finest wine and got the bottle just for him. He went on a corner and he emptied that very fine wine. You know, it was what was it? Red.
So many, Feodor. I soaked off the labels and I put them in the Sharpe 2 album. I still have. I should really kind of find it. But
no.
Yes, I soaked off the labels. I have a whole.
Glorious.
I didn't digitize those photographs, just this one of Liz, but I've got it, man. It was a memorable evening. I write about it in my book. I'm writing a book, by the way, and I love you for that, Feodor. You are loved for what you did. We were starving, we were bored, and Feodor took us out of our little crazy enclosed bubble for like a few hours. Mwah.
Oh,
you know what's hilarious, Jason? That the listeners have sussed that they have Salkey's book bingo when they're listening to these now. They have to drink every time you mention the book. It's brilliant. Let's get them absolutely shit-faced.
And this is Lyndon and I after a few bottles of glasses of wine.
You guys took me to a game of football at the stadium, Simferopol.
We played, didn't we?
No, we were watching. We were watching a game.
Yes, that's right. Yes, you did. That's right. Right.
You guys spent most of the time listening to a game between Chelsea and Man U.
That's right.
Yes, exactly.
I took a picture.
Every week you'd receive a cassette, a tape of a Manchester United football player of the previous week.
Yes, Match of the Day it's called.
Match of the Day, I don't know. And every English part of the crew was watching. They were watching that. They were waiting for the tape for 1 week, you know. They were starving for that game to be seen all together. And I'm sorry to say that, but I hate football. And
but we were the donkeys. We were the donkeys who would carry out those tapes, I imagine. For those people who weren't regulars, we'd have to accompany a trunk with stuff in it, wouldn't we, from London?
Yeah.
And the day I did it, the lock had been jimmied open. We got to Simferopol and I realised that the lock was broken open and a few things had been taken. I don't think anything of great consequence, but I felt a bit guilty because I felt like it was under my charge. But at the same time, to get me to look after a trunk as well as my own luggage was more than any actor can do.
As long as my mail wasn't nicked, that was okay.
No, that's it. But so
you would know.
That was their way of ferrying things over. Anything could have been in that trunk. I could have been arrested and ended up in some sort of.
When I was in Turkey, I came home to get some stuff, and I was given a whole suitcase, and one of them was like 300 vitamin tablets in a nondescript bottle. I didn't know, and they pulled it out, and I was like, "Oh, oh." And I had to make up some, they'd luckily believe me because, if they'd properly searched me, I would have been fucked. I'd also, I had a lovely memory of Feodor pulling me aside one evening and said, "Jason, I have something for you." I was like, "Oh, what money? Is this stuff for your hair? It's a hair restorer, minoxidil." I was like, "Thank you so much, Feodor, but I think I'm going to have to let it go, man."
Oh my God. But it didn't work at all. But I remember something. You were watching every week. On Sundays, certainly the football matches. On the
videotape.
And as I'm not a very I'm not a soccer fan, so I went away from the fantastic hotel where we were, and I went to Chekhov's house. There was it was like a small museum, but it was Chekhov's. In fact, actually Chekhov's Izba, and I went there. I was very impressed, because after being on stage on Chekhov's productions, and I was watching all the stuff he had when he was, of course, when he was living there, and on the entrance of his Izba, there was his coat Chekhov's coat, a black stuff, you know. I was impressed by the size of his bed, because it was very tall, and the size of his wife's bed. She was a tiny woman, and the
what
bed
was her
was
name, Feodor?
What?
What was her name?
Oh, tell him. Tell
Olga Knipper. Olga Knipper.
Exactly, Olga Knipper. And the women that were there, you know, to keep the whole thing, the museum, they were drinking vodka and they were talking together. So they were not impressed by the only visitor that was there, me. And at a moment when I went away from I went out, on my going out, I took the coat and I put it on.
Yeah.
Just like to feel what Chekhov could have felt, you know, with the coat on. And the coat was so large, so immense, that I couldn't see my hands, you know. The sleeves were coming down like here. And there was a very nice memory, as a matter of fact.
They didn't stop you from putting a jacket on?
No, I know they didn't take well.
They were getting drunk.
They were not interested on my going from a room to another. I was wandering in the Isba all that time, and they didn't not watch me.
Can I just add something to that very quickly? That Helena, Michelle, and I went one day, and it was closed, and a window opened, and this old woman, one of whom you may have seen when you were there, Phil.
Yeah.
She came running out. She took one look at Helena and thought she was the most beautiful person she'd ever seen, and she gave us a little private tour, I think, as a result, which was kind of great. So we were just wandering around this amazing house.
Fantastic.
In the time I went there, it was rammed with about 4 people. And the women were actually, you know, on the case. They were saying, move, you've seen enough of this room. Move to next room. Move to next room. I said, hang on, I haven't had a proper look. I haven't put the coat on yet. Move, next room. It felt really busy, you know, 4 or 5 of us. Because they were quite small rooms, weren't they, Feodor?
Yeah. Middle, with a huge white plaster that heated the whole house. So the main fire was like in the middle room, and the white chimney went right upstairs. Yeah. Sorry, this is just me remembering the house too, because I love being there like you. Yeah. I didn't get the chance to wear the coat, Feodor.
And that's one of my biggest regrets. Natasha's reminding me that I didn't ever once go to Chekhov's
Shame
house.
on you, Jason. Shame on you.
It was hard.
And I love Chekhov as well. Yeah. But I'll give a little story about museums. Do you remember shooting at Levadia Palace, Mickey?
Yeah.
And Bindi?
No.
Good, Lindy, good.
We shot at Levadia Palace, which is where the Yalta Conference was in 1944 with Stalin, Roosevelt, Churchill.
Yes.
And
45.
44, sorry.
45, sorry. Feodor, you can correct him, go on.
It's 45.
Yes, 45.
45.
Yeah, 45.
Yeah.
How good to be
45, I grant you. Potsdam was 44, yeah? Potsdam?
No, Potsdam was 45. Well.
They both are 45.
Jason, leave it. It's nothing to do with Sharpe.
Yeah.
It is. It has lots to do with Sharpe. Anyway, so we're shooting the final scenes of Sharpe's Eagle there, and it's all Victoria, etc. And we were shooting just outside, outside the building, but next to the room where the actual conference was held. And I had a few minutes to kill. I was dressed in full kit, rifle, and I strolled into the room. And there was a table that had the English delegation flag on it. So I went over and I sat in the biggest chair there, and I said, yeah, Churchill, come on, man. All of a sudden, this babusha came running out and chased me out of the chair and out of the room. How dare you? Well, she wasn't speaking English, but I can imagine what she was saying. You bloody Western capitalist bastard. So, you know, I was taking the piss, obviously, because I had my Baker rifle, full kit, and I was sitting in Churchill's chair.
Right.
I felt I had a right, though.
Was there a waxwork museum there? Is this my imagination? Was there there was a sort of reenactment of the moment when Rasputin is killed? There was a waxwork. Did anybody else see the waxwork?
In Levadia Palace?
It might have been the Levadia Palace. It might have been somewhere in our environment, and I can't remember.
It well could have been, Natasha says.
Thank you, because otherwise I'm going mad.
Jason, was there a restaurant there as well?
Yes.
Yes. Didn't we? And
We had dinner there. It was wonderful.
Some people got food.
I just remember fish and chips. We had fish and chips and little jars of vodka and...
Not in the Navadia of Paris, no.
It was a place with mirrors on the ceiling.
And women dancing on the tables.
Yeah, gosh. I've got a very Peter Greenaway-esque picture of a sort of us all looking up at the ceiling. So his face is all in reflection of these mirrors in the ceiling. That incredible place we had dinner. I loved it. Every time you saw Dinny from a distance, he'd be reenacting some sort of fight of some kind. About when he helped his brother Nosha in some pub or something. In the
He'd be shadow boxing, wouldn't he? Every time.
Always. You just see it from a distance, wouldn't you? And then yeah.
There's a question that came up a couple times for Nick Rowe. Is you were in Sherwood, Robin of Sherwood. In fact, Nick Grace was too, right?
No, hang on. I wasn't in Robin of Sherwood, actually.
Right.
I'd like Nicholas Rowe to have been in Robin of Sherwood, but
Thank you, Nick. Thank you.
You would have been wonderful.
Well, let's forget that question anyway. The question was...
The question is from Andy Wilson. I'll rescue Jason.
Got him.
Nicholas worked on an absolute classic with Robin of Sherwood. When he stepped into another classic in Sharpe, did he see any similarities between the Chosen Men and the Merry Men? And were the productions similar?
God.
Thank you, Alex.
Very good question. None at all, except they all want to get smashed every night. That was it. And I think, none at all, except it's great playing villains, as Feodor will tell you. It's always great to be the villain. Yeah.
My childhood was pretty much terrified of you every time I saw you.
Oh, hooray, then it worked. Hooray.
I have a question for you, though. Why, when you Google you, does a picture of you topless holding a fish come up?
People are always trying to get me naked. You know, Jason will tell you why, but I have no idea.
That's brilliant.
That's a great shot.
It is brilliant. I just wondered if there was some sense behind it, or if it was just how you were feeling that day, naked with a fish.
Well, the serious side is, yes, it's to do with fish conservation. So Greta Scacchi persuaded 20 of us to be as naked as the fish we were holding, and so we all stood there totally naked with a fish. And what is great is that you don't see me naked at all, so all he wanted was my left nipple and the fish, obviously. Some famous French photographer, Feodor would know his name, Denis Rowe or something, I can't remember now. Anyway, I did it for fish love.
Oh, that's really sweet. Nothing says I love you to a fish like taking your clothes off. I love it.
Okay.
No, it's a good shout. Right, okay. Neil Carey wanted to know, were there any, so I think this is because so much comes out in these podcasts about the, what word am I looking for? Adversity that you suffered in the Crimea. Were there any pre-existing non-acting skills or aptitudes that you had to bring to working on Sharpe?
Is that to me or everyone?
Everyone, I guess.
Good. Non-acting skills. Riding a horse.
Playing chess.
Very good.
Playing chess.
I think fiber gel required more skill.
It did.
Riding a horse definitely was one of them, wasn't it? Because I remember one day being put on a horse and there was a horse wrangler there. Apart from Dinny, there was a guy, Jason, you might remember his name, Lyndon, you might, or Michael, he was, what?
Slava Berlachko.
Slava. He was not brilliant, but he only seemed to speak about 3 words of English. Right. So one of them was big, one of them was little, and the other one was a kind of mixture, which was chuchut. Which is I think chuchut meant little. So this
a little bit.
The amount of pressure you put on the reins, pulling on the reins. To those of us who weren't brilliant riders anyway, it was kind of a little bit of a shocker. And I found myself riding across the plain with Dinny becoming an increasingly small figure, and it was just me on my own. He sort of gave the horse a wallop on the bum, and I think I went running off. And he was going chut chut. And I didn't really, I just had 2 instructions, and it was quite scary. And also my horse only had one eye. So,
Your horse has come up a few times with Bangkok's horse.
What?
Yes, it was a Scott's horse.
Oh, well, as head of the rocket troop, I think I had to ride at the head of this troop, but I couldn't because the horse was going right. So I had to have a man on my right to sort of stop the horse going right. And eventually, so I never really had my moment of glory on a horse. I was always with somebody.
Brian Cox remember that horse as well, didn't he? Yeah. Okay, so we talked a little bit specifically about Enemy and Liz Hurley. What are your memories of Honour? Anyone can start.
That's Feodor and Nick Grace.
I loved it. I mean, you guys all joke that I'd gone native. I just loved being there. With all the elements, just wandering around every day, wandering to the Levadia Palace, going into Yalta, as you say, going to Chekhov's house, going to the place where Gorky stayed, going to the docks. No sex at the docks, Feodor, but I went down to the docks a lot because there were all those rusting ships, weren't there? Like, all the ships were just anchored there and rusting. It was very sad.
Do you remember something about horses? I'm sorry, I'm coming backwards and going
always come backwards.
Yeah, sure, always. There's one.
That was just for you, Michael.
One Sunday, there was a guy from the crew, a technical crew, that wanted to go for a ride with a horse, and he took, without saying anything to anyone, he took a horse and he fell down. Yes. He had an accident.
Yes. And he fell. Yeah, it was lunchtime and it was snowing up at Baidar Valley, I believe. Exactly. And a bunch of them took horses to ride back from location to the lunchroom. And it was snowy and he didn't know how to really ride a horse and he slipped and fell off the back, smashed his head. But he had to be air ambulanced home. Not even Paul McGann, he had to be air ambulanced. Natasha's good friend Igor. Remember Igor, the interpreter? Sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to say sort of. Anyway, so he had to go to Sevastopol, Natasha. Yeah. Yeah. And then fly on from there to England. To a hospital. Very, very sad.
I've got a question, talking about sad departures. So the lovely, wonderful Dame Diana Rigg, was she ever approached to be in Sharpe at all, or would there have been a good role for her? There's a question. What could she have been?
Were there many older women in Sharpe, though? I mean, I'm trying to think.
Yeah, the young Diana Rigg could have given Teresa a role.
Yes, Natasha's saying she could have played Rosie Linehan's part.
Oh.
Yeah. What was her name? Nugent. Beth Nugent. Nugent. Yeah. She could have played her.
You wouldn't have got Diana out to the Crimea, though. I wouldn't have thought.
Obviously, Michael, if you'd noticed on Facebook, there is a picture of Diana Rigg and I.
That's why I brought it up. That's why.
Yes, of course.
We worked on a thing called Mother Love back in 1989.
And I have to say, I saw that was the title, and it sounds inherently creepy. Just looking at the picture of you two together and the title, what was it about?
Well, it's about her. Well, all I remember is my scene was she brings me laburnum seeds, and I have to crush them up and put them into cookies, and they are going to poison her son's wife or something. She's a nasty piece of work.
Excellent. I loved her in Game of Thrones. I think she was brilliant.
Amazing.
She took no crap off of anyone in that. I liked it.
Well, I was very fortunate to work on her very last piece of work last year, which is Edgar Wright's new film, which is coming out, in April now. It's been delayed. But she...
What's it called?
It's called Last Night in Soho. And it's going to be quite special. And it's particularly special because it's got Diana Rigg, Terence Stamp and Rita Tushingham all sort of touching 80 or just over 80. Sort of playing characters who'd seen better days in their youth, and it was very brilliant casting in a way to get those three. But anyway, so that's my memory of her having a brief.
Last of the Summer Wine.
Jason, yeah.
Can I ask a question, Jason, of you and Lyndon? I never knew what the casting process was for the Chosen Men. I just wondered how. If you've been over this 1,000 times, please forgive me, but I never knew.
Should I start, Lyndon?
Sorry.
Should I start?
Yeah, carry on, man.
We kind of covered it before, but yes, my audition, and you're not going to correct me on this, mother. My audition was on the 12th of May, 1992. And
so anal, Jason.
And it was because I've written the book about it, and it was on Knoll Street in Soho, above a tobacconist news agent, and I didn't know anything about Sharpe. I sat with Jim Goddard, the first director of Sharpe, and we talked about everything but Napoleonics, everything but the book, everything but the filming, nothing about Russia at all. We just generally chatted, and we got on to talking about my father. My father was a writer, blah, 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 blah. And I left the audition thinking I hadn't got it. And it was about 2 months later when I got a call saying, Jason, you're going to Russia for 16 weeks. Now, there was never once where we optioned. Never once. Bino was optioned. Brian Cox turned down his option. Asunta, la, 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 la. But we were never, ever optioned. In fact, a couple of the years, they said, listen, if you don't sign on the dotted line, we're just going to get someone else. So, yeah, that answers your question about that. Right, Linda, does that match your experiences?
Yeah, pretty much the same. I was, obviously you know the place where the auditions were. But, Jim Goddard. I was rehearsing a play at the Bush Theatre when I had my audition. I had 2 auditions. I met Jim at the place that Jason said. Obviously, I can't remember the date and the time and the day.
Good.
Now I remember meeting Lyndon, although I must say I had to look at my notes later on because Lyndon was famous. Lyndon was in The Singing Detective. Oh. So I sort of remember Lyndon at my audition going down the stairs, out the door, whatever. I'm thinking, this could be good. They're getting famous actors in. Good. But no, Nick, we were definitely, it was year by year.
That was extraordinary. That is so bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah. Couple of years we went back for no extra money. I know everyone says, oh, boo-hoo, boo-hoo, boo-hoo. Yeah. But there were some serious wage hikes for the up above us.
But also the value, the actual value, without blowing smoke up your asses, actually the value you provided as well on the social side, quite apart from the performance side, you were the kind of hosts. You were very good. It must have been exhausting welcoming new faces in all the time and then sort of trying to be, very...
We were pretty wasted the whole time, so it was all right.
Can I just say, I met Jim Goddard, and I can't remember what the part was actually. I never got the job. But then when Tom took over, I got the job I got offered the job in Sainsbury's, Long Island Sainsbury's, and Tom just said, Phil, are you busy? And I went, and I was actually doing the bill at the time. And I went, yeah, I'm free. I'm free. He said, because I'm just thinking about you coming in to do Sharpe. And he mentioned the character. And I got out of the bill kind of surreptitiously for 6 weeks so I could do the first episode of Sharpe.
Did you even audition?
No, because I'd worked with Tom a couple of times before. Mm-hmm. And he just said, do you want to do it? And I went, just phone my agent. I want to do it, yeah. And I went to the bill, and there was the guy who was in charge of programming in the bill, and I said, because he didn't do anything with computers, it was all on boards, different episodes. And I just said, you've got to get me out for 6 weeks I want to do this thing. And the producer of the bill never knew.
Good on you. Good.
Yes.
Were they paying you at the same time?
Sorry?
Were they still paying you?
Well, yeah, I was just on a contract for a year.
Outstanding.
So many episodes. And I just said, I won't stay if you can't get me out of this thing. To get, because I wanted to go to Russia, wanted to go to Ukraine, wanted to do Sharpe. And
it's better than filming in the Whitgift Centre, isn't it?
Sorry?
It's better than filming in the Whitgift Centre for the bill.
But they got me out. They got me out for 6 weeks.
And also, considering how many injuries and stuff there were, you were quite lucky to get back in one piece.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nick Rowe and Nick Grace, how did you get your parts? I'm guessing you didn't audition. Far too special.
I went to an office called Ecos Films, did I? I mean, was it Ecos Films going by then? Was it them? Or Celtic?
It was Sharpe Film was the parent company, but it was Celtic Film and Picture Palace. Celtic Picture Palace.
Celtic, that's right, Celtic Films, and to be honest, I really remember very little. Did I meet Tom? I think I probably met Tom Clegg. Would I have met Tom Clegg? Yes, I think I did.
But not in Sainsbury.
But what?
But not in Sainsbury.
Best story, very good story there.
It's funny because
it's like, no, I only go to Waitrose, darling.
Okay, that's an assumption. You might be right, but I have a Sainsbury's around the corner. what is this? Anyway. Weirdly enough, Tom Clegg's daughter works in the pet shop, or worked in the pet shop that I buy my food from.
Yeah.
I don't know how we quite...
You eat pet food?
Your food or your pet's food?
My pet's food.
Okay, just clarifying.
So that's a little aside. It's not going anywhere, that. But no, the answer is I honestly, I'm afraid I can't quite remember my audition, but I think it all happened very quickly, as I say. And I do remember playing poker with Tom Clegg. I'm just, a demon poker player, wasn't he?
Nick. Funnily enough, Nick, before Sharpe, I had an audition for something called Between the Lines. And remember that show? Between the Lines was a cop show. And it was directed by Tom Clegg. And I auditioned for it and didn't get the part. So when Tom replaced Jim, I thought, oh my God, I'm in for it now. But and in many ways I was.
Nick Grace, yours was a straight offer, presumably.
No. I had to go to the Hubbard's office in whatever street it was then.
No, the Hubbards, that's
right. That was it, Hubbard Castings.
Yeah. So John Hubbard was there. Tom I met for the first time, and he was absolutely lovely. He said, "Can you really speak Spanish?" I said, "Well, I can learn Spanish." And he said, "Right." No. Yeah. So that was a no, yeah.
That's funny.
And Nick, did he ask you, did you have the eye of the cardinal and the heart of a snake? That's how Hatcher.
That's for the other Nick, isn't it? Not me.
That's how Hatcher was described.
That's how it's described. I did indeed, yeah, of course.
Yes. And you know what's great? I rewatched the episode, and you arrive on the 13th minute, so it's perfect. You do on the 13th minute of the show. Papa Hatcher arrives. So you're true evil, and there's a lovely bit at the end.
I've known you since you were a little boy. I had no idea that you were this anally retentive about dates, times, minutes.
Oh my God, he's killing me.
Just send him up, please. Send him up. I cannot believe it. What year did I first meet you in Moscow Road?
That was after we met on Sharpe. So it would be...
When you were a little boy in Moscow Road, I think it was...
Oh, yes, that was probably 1973 or 1974.
Didn't you write the date down? Okay.
Yeah, I'll explain this. My mum lives on Moscow Road at Windsor Court. Across from our building was a guy called David Ronda, who is a famous screenwriter, dead now. His wife was an artist. They're called
Jack Ronda. You're wrong again.
Jack Ronda. Sorry, David's the son. David's son hung up with.
Tanya Ronda's the playwright.
They had crazy parties that people like Lindsay Kemp used to arrive at, and Nick Grace. And obviously, I watched those two arrive one evening, and I was never the same since.
But I want a piece of that. I want to be an actor. I want to be
I want to be just like Nick Grace.
I won't be
like Lindsay Kemp.
not Lindsay Kemp. Nick Grace, exactly.
Does anyone know Lindsay Kemp? No.
I've seen his stuff at Sadler's Wells.
Imagine 13-year-old boy, 12-year-old boy seeing this arriving up the stairs of your house, your flat.
Who's Nick? You know, the guy who was the blind guy that always used to be with Lindsay Kemp.
It was his partner in life, and also he's totally blind and would always dance within the show. He was Jack Burkett.
That's right. And they'd lead him off at the end. The only time you'd ever know that he was blind was when somebody come on and lead him off.
And Lindsay called him the Great Orlando.
That's right, yeah.
Because Lindsay Kemp left us earlier this year? When did Lindsay leave us? Earlier this year, I think.
Yeah, I chucked a one off. Utterly brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely right. Marcus, this is so exciting for you, hearing about the business. Lindsay Kemp. Who the fuck is Lindsay Kemp? Sorry, listeners.
You have no idea how excited he genuinely is to be.
Good.
Big fan of Sharpe, so that's
he was the English Marcel Marceau. He was our greatest mime artist. He was incredible.
Yeah. And he was committed.
I'm funny with it.
Yeah.
I've got another question about I'm sorry. These are the little things. My synapses are working in strange ways. I'm just wondering if you remember the casino in the hotel. Was there a sort of
Yeah. Drunk with Darragh O'Malley in the casino.
You and I went one night together, and I got rather scared because there were lots of people there looking like sort of joke gangsters from, they were all.
I think they were real gangsters.
They were.
I'm with Phil. They were real gangsters. Yeah,
they were real
that
gangsters.
Was in Simferopol, wasn't it? In Simferopol.
How much of a cliche they were. I thought, God, I wasn't going to argue with them because they were much bigger than me, and I legged it fairly quickly. I think I just got a bit scared.
That's Lindsay Kemp.
I was frightened. Oh, well done. Oh. There you are, Marcus. Now you know why Jason notices us when we're walking up and down the stairs. And he taught David Bowie.
David Bowie,
all those movements and shapes that he did during his songs.
That's right. This has been a real education today, isn't it?
Well, you're going to pick it up. You've written it all down.
Yes, very differently chosen.
I want to make sure I'm giving you the facts.
I just want to make sure he pays you when he puts it all in the book.
Yeah.
What did you say, Marcus?
Is Jason writing a book?
Yes, apparently so.
Did he not tell you today that he's writing a book?
I'd never heard, Nick. It's all new to me.
Wait, Jason, say the word book again for the people playing Jason Salkey book bingo listening to this. Say it again.
Yes, I'm writing a book. It's called From Crimea with Love. It's featuring all these lovely people you hear today.
Who's publishing it? Who's publishing it?
It's published by Unbound. You can pre-order right now if you want.
Okay, great. Okay.
Yeah, Nick, there's a drinking game for our listeners. Every time he mentions the book, they have to drink. So we're trying to get them absolutely ratted listening.
And that's now 7 mentions in the last 5 minutes. That's
mentions of what?
It's breakfast in the Ukraine.
Absolutely. When
there's no bacon.
What was the name of the hotel in Simferopol? Was it Moskva?
It was called the Moscow Hotel, the Moskva Hotel.
That's right, yeah.
And we stayed there on the second year and on the third. You went there third year, first and second year, and they did have a casino down in. They didn't have it on the first year. They had no casino first year, but they made so much money off Sharpe. They had a whole refurbishment. The second year went back. Remember, Lyndon? How it was different.
The rooms weren't refurbed though.
No, but they put a casino downstairs. They had
that wasn't there. That wasn't there the first year.
I just remember all those guys appearing in like bullet-riddled BMWs and Mercedes, and I said, "How do they get those cars here?" Because you didn't see Mercedes or BMWs, then in certainly in Simferopol. And he said they used to go to East Germany in a little kind of crappy car. There's about 6 of them, and they'd all go off steal cars and then drive them back. That was their import system.
Apparently, hundreds of BMWs left Berlin airport and landed in Moscow, apparently. Loads and loads.
What was our hotel called, Jason? Was it really a KGB?
Yeah. We lived in the Chernomorye Sanatorium.
That's right.
Which was a KGB relaxation home, yeah.
It was for drying out KGB alcoholics, wasn't it?
That's right, yeah.
It was amazing. What about that seawater swimming pool?
Yes, that's right. Yep. They had a whole rehabilitation area where they had sauna and stuff. But one of the pools was so deep and it was filled with salt water from the Black Sea just around the corner, and it was very freaky to swim in. If you remember.
It wasn't very healthy. I was told not to. I had to swim like a very old person doing breaststroke because you weren't supposed to swallow any of the water. There was a very, very light film of oil on the surface. It was meant to be very.
Oh, there was more than oil. I remember
Is this confession time now?
Film editor swimming, and he brought his kids over, and he was swimming in the Black Sea, and about 10 meters further down there was a pipe with all kind of stuff floating in the water. I did go back and tell him.
I thought you were going to say there was a dead body or something in it then.
Do you remember?
To be fair, the one we were in the KGB hotel had water pumped in through a filter system. I checked all that because I'm so neurotic about health. But it was pretty good. It was sea salt water. It was fantastic.
Yeah, it was nothing wrong with it. No. Yeah, I think.
I love the way the Ukrainians sunbathed. A lot of them standing there like sort of cormorants were just standing up with arms aloft.
Yeah.
And those people were often playing chess. I have a rather wonderful picture of 2 very, very large Ukrainians playing chess and a big crowd around them. It's kind of one of the memories.
Remember Michael Mears and Darrow were big chess players. You remember them having long, epic games?
Really?
And we used to, that was another analogy for having fun with the opposite sex. You've been playing chess, Jason? Remember Lyndon? Remember?
No.
Now I've just got visions of you in that picture of you wearing nothing but your pants and those wellies. Thanks for that.
Wellies, there's a special Spetsnaz boot, not wellies.
You were about to play chess, were you? Is that the point?
Yeah, yes, I was about to embark on a Kasparov or someone was in town, so I thought, let's go for it.
Tell me something? Why did the catering van have bullet holes in it? Was it something to do with driving through the
There was no bacon, Nick.
They brought the Chosen Men. They brought didn't they, the second year they drove catering trucks over from the UK, and as one was coming through Kiev, it was caught in the crossfire. That's what I understood. There was one bullet hole or two bullet holes in there.
Natasha does say she remembers that. I don't remember it, but Natasha says yes.
Thank you. Natasha is my friend always, because
absolutely.
Can I ask a question? Who are those two lovely guys who used to carry the water around? The gay couple.
Their names were. We called them Sandra and Patricia. Go on, Lyndon. Go on. Tell us about it.
Sandra and Patricia.
Yeah. And I remember
the really tall, skinny one, and then the really little dinky one.
With dyed blonde hair. Yes. One had dyed blonde hair. And they couldn't speak any English. And I think one of the camera crew just used to say, now then. And that's what they learned. And they used to walk around with water going, now then.
all you could remember them saying was just chai, miloko, chai, miloko, chai.
But now then was hilarious when we got him saying that. I've got a picture somewhere. Could you carry on? Yeah, and Natasha just told me both of them are dead now. They were killed even.
Oh no!
Yeah, but they were all gay, and obviously you can't be gay in post-Soviet Ukraine.
I remember, yeah.
This thing was chai, coffee, chai. They were such lovely guys, but they met a grisly end apparently.
Oh, bless them.
That's very sad.
It is very sad.
No, because they used to make us
put this podcast out in their memory then.
Okay.
Sandra and Patricia.
Patricia, and Jay Benedict and Arthur Worcester.
Guys, thank you so much. This has been absolutely brilliant. I've not seen Honour or Enemy for so long. It was a real pleasure to watch it with this in mind, and then to catch up with you guys, and also for all the stuff that we've segued onto as well about the business and the Ukraine. We will be coming back very, very soon, because we are going to do separate programs, I believe, on Sharpe's Company and Sharpe's Eagle. So join us for those, because they're going to be absolutely fantastic. Join us for a special tomorrow when we will be talking to Allegra Jordan. Allegra's brother John has featured many times on History Hack, and Allegra has beavered away behind the scenes, especially in the early days, helping us to get American historians on. And now it's her turn. So Allegra started off by working on Harvard in World War I, and really got interested in looking at reconciliation and how you treat your enemy when the war is over and how you move forward. And it's something she's really got heavily involved with in life now, and she's going to tell us all about it. Join us on Monday when Alan Malpass will be with us, talking all about British treatment of German prisoners of war in World War II. This one was so interesting because it's something that I'd just not really thought about before, and you can find all about how they were treated, how that changed over the course of the war, and how they went about going home afterwards. We are now on YouTube. We are posting all of our new episodes on there, and we have our own channel, and we are gradually posting all of the back episodes, because we have been made aware of the fact that you can only find the last 100 on some platforms. So you can go and listen to your heart's content and laugh at the cartoons and have a great time. So do go over there and subscribe. Don't forget, you can become a patron of History Hack for as little as $1 a month. Just go to www.historyhack.podbean.com. It will help us keep going in the aftermath of the coronavirus, and we would really appreciate it, as we would love to do so.